Faced. Scratch moded.
3. I puked like a lot, like projectile. It's a real thing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I am Henry Confidential here on Dial In for Movies, and I'm with my buddy Mike over there. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Mr. DVD, Mike Hamley.
And that's what I'm talking about. And together we have decided that we want to create something different now that we have shifted the Trivia League over onto the new channel. We decided that we always talk movies on the side and we always have fun and we like giving each other shit on our preference of movies and how we like to order movies and how we like to throw some in there that are like, what? And we always have reactions. So we figured that how about we actually do that on a real scale, and let's make some lists and let's compare movies. And we both like poker, and we decided that one of my favorite movies of all time is Seven. We both like poker, so let's come up with a theme of 7 movies and that list, and we're gonna call it Pocket Sevens. So how the theme is going to go is going to be similar to poker. We are going to start off with the flop, which is going to be our 7 through 4s. Then we're going to go over to the river, which is our 3 through 2s. Then we'll cover some honorable mentions because obviously with lists like today, there's so many that we are not. It's just unfortunate that we're leaving off and it just kills us. So we have to talk about a couple just quickly. And then finally, we're going to have our turns, which are number 1s. And at the end, we are going to argue with each other, fight to the death, and come up with our number 1 list. And if you guys don't know already, Mike and myself, we are a group in the Trivia League. There will be trivia, and we've come together being real good buddies, and we are true bromance. So our individual lists are going to be our Pocket Sevens, but then ultimately we're going to have our true bromances top 10 or top 7 list of whatever it is. And today we have comedies. So our top 7 comedies of all time personally. And with that being said, Mike, go ahead and with your flop. What is your number 7?
Okay, well, this was very difficult to narrow down, but I decided to choose for my number 7, Ghostbusters.
All right,
I love Ghostbusters. Ivan Reitman, he hit gold with his movies. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, they're all, Harold Ramis, they're all amazing in this movie. Bill Murray has some of the funniest lines, quotable lines ever in this film.
It's true. This man has no dick.
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
Is that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? What? That's what I was thinking of. It's one of those movies that it doesn't have that nostalgia feeling for me, but it's definitely one of those movies if you're with a buddy and you're just chilling out watching Ghostbusters, because it's a group style movie because it's a group of 4 coming together.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's obviously not on my list. So for me personally, it's not there for me, but I definitely understand why it would be for you, especially knowing that your love for the 80s and as well as, your Bill Murray and all, just that era. So yeah, it's not for me, but I definitely understand why you would love it, and I definitely respect it as a comedy.
Thank you. Now, going down to my number 6. Again, this was very hard because this one was going up and down on the list, but I put it down for a reason. It is 1989's The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Okay.
Now, this movie, it's very hard to just put together why I love this fucking movie so much. And it's a movie that not a lot of people know about offhandedly. Yeah. It's one of those Tom Hanks films directed by Joe Dante, who did Gremlins. It's basically taking the rear window aspect of having someone watch a neighbor and turning it on its head. The comedy's there. Tom Hanks plays a neighbor who thinks his next-door neighbors are killers. They think that they're seeing them bury bodies in the backyard. He has his next-door neighbor who is egging him on like little children. Corey Feldman pulls up in the very smart role as a smart-eyed teenager who just eggs him on as well. It's just a whole community of suburbia that comes together on a cul-de-sac to go after these people that you do not know throughout this movie if they're really killers or not. And they have one part of this movie that I truly love. It's when they go to the next door neighbor's house who they think are killers, it's this uncle, and this uncle hates Tom Hanks because of everything he's done. And Tom Hanks is just staring off at everyone else, and the uncle is like right to his face, just staring at him, not saying a word, just staring at him. Tom Hanks notices it, but he won't turn. And it's the most awkward situation I've ever seen in my life. And I will not give away the ending, but the ending is truly spectacular. I love
this
it.
is a movie that I definitely need to check out. I haven't. I love Tom Hanks. He's one of my favorite actors. I loved him in Big. So I mean, it's right around that era. I think Big was 80, 88, 80, yeah,
I,
88, yeah, around that time.
it's
So
somewhere around there. Yeah.
yeah, so it's the same time period. So I definitely know it's Tom Hanks at the peak, at the height of his powers as comedy. So I know that's right at that time where it's like I should check it out. And it's been one of those I just haven't got to it yet. And just
And
with your
Carrie Fisher plays his wife,
yeah.
which she does an amazing job in.
Yeah, so I'm putting that on top of my watch list now. That the Burbs, you've convinced me.
Now going down to my number 5. This is a movie that I put on and off the list a couple times, and a couple main reasons why I kept it on. But the biggest reason is my best friend and me. I saw this movie in the theater, but years later when I worked at the video store, we worked there together and we would watch this over and over again. And they have an audio track that is a Thermian audio track, which is all in the alien language. Yes, I am talking about Galaxy Quest.
Okay.
This movie, Tim Allen, Alan Rickman, Sigourney Weaver, Tony Shalhoub, they are all amazing in this movie. Tim Allen plays the greatest asshole ever. Such a dick in this movie.
Yeah.
And Alan Rickman, I think, gives one of his best performances ever as a guy who's just tired of everything. He doesn't like the show. He doesn't like the fact that he has to sign autographs. He hates saying, by Grabthar's hammer, you shall be avenged. Fucking hates saying it every time. And then he has to say it during the scene where at the shopping center. By Grabthar's hammer, small break, what a savings. And he cut the list in. You can know he just wants to blow his head off. Saying he does not want to say it. And just the comedy is there for me. Every joke hits for me in this. Having them spoof off of Star Trek is amazing. Because I was not a big Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
But this movie made me want to go and actually watch the Star Trek movies because how much they make fun of them. They do it in a smart way. And Justin Long plays the greatest fanboy in the world, who Tim Allen hates throughout this movie until the very end. He always goes in awkward situations with them, and Justin Long plays it off perfectly.
This is actually another one I haven't seen yet, and it's similar to what you said. It's the Star Trek aspect where I've never been a Star Trek fan. I've only seen one, and that's Star Trek '09. So I don't have that nostalgia or that fandom part of it, and it's just I've heard so many great things about it, and I like spoof movies, so you would think I haven't even seen Spaceballs, and I love Star Wars, so that's one of those
Spaceballs is another great one.
that's ones I need to get on, and I love Alan Rickman, I love Tim Allen, and Tony Shalhoub. I mean, I don't know how it would work, but I love him and the little things I've seen him in. So
it's such an awkward cast, but it works perfectly.
Well, yeah, well, that's great. So far of your flop, your bottom three, there's two I haven't seen, and then one I definitely I can respect. So going on to me for my number 7, this one's a tough one for me. The fact that it's so low, and in comparison to other ones that I had to leave off the list, I'm surprised that it's up there because I wouldn't necessarily say as a whole of the movie that this was one of my favorites, but when I laugh at this movie, I laugh. And the main reason is when I watch this movie in a group, it's one of those great group movies because either everyone's going to laugh collectively because of how funny it is, or some people are just not going to get it because it's so batshit crazy and off the walls. And I'm talking about 1975's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Whenever you see some weird stuff going on, it's just like, does that make sense? Is that even funny? There's one scene in particular I want to talk about, but I'm gonna save that for last. But you have the little scenes, like one of the things I was watching this with a girl for her very first time, and it's when they're in the little village and he's collecting up the dead bodies, and he's like, collecting your dead, giving your dead, and the one guy, he's like, here's one for you, and he's like, I'm not dead yet. He's like, shut up, yes you are, or you will be soon. And it's just like, I can't do that, and he knocks him on the head, and he's like, how about now? He's like, all right, let's put him on there. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? And then you have two classic scenes three classic scenes, or at least for me. One is obviously the night. You have the epic night scene, and he's like, what? He's like, you're so valiant, I fight, and he's like, you can't pass. And then they start fighting. He's like, all right, I'm gonna take you, and they cuts off his arm. He's like, ah, and he's like, all right, you should bow down to me. And he hits him again. He's like, you idiot. He's like, your wound. He's like, it's just a flesh wound. I've seen worse. And then at the very end, he cuts off his legs. He's got no legs. He's got no arms. It's like, I'll bite your legs off, you yellow bastard. And it's just, what the, who would think of something like this? And it's not meant to have amazing effects. He cuts his arm off and splurting out blood and so over the top, but it's awesome and it's beautiful. And then speaking of over the top and blood spilling everywhere, the epic monster scene, and I'm not talking about when the writer has a heart attack and that dies and saves the world. Not that one. That was epic too. But I'm talking about the bunny rabbit, and I'll leave it at that. There's a bunny rabbit in this scene, and if you've never seen Holy Grail, which, come on, what are you doing? If you've never seen Holy Grail, just go in seeing a bunny rabbit and just how epically ferocious it is. And then the last one I wanted to talk about is, what is your quest? What is your purpose? And he has some questions that he's like. He said something about the how much weight can a swallow. He's like, an African swallow. He's like, what? I don't know that. And then he goes flying off. It's like it's a callback to the earlier joke when they're messing with him. And it's so off the walls, crazy. And being in that with a group and seeing how they react to it. That's why it's up there. It shouldn't be on the list because as a movie, it doesn't always hold up for my mood. But when you're with a group, it's great. And that
definitely.
You have any specific things you want to say? I went on crazy because
you hit a lot of the major scenes. The only ones I would come up with are the little coconut scene. I just love that so much. The witch scene, I truly love that. Was one I remember from my first time watching it. It always stuck with me. And then I won't give it away, but the ending is spectacular. The way they end that movie is incredible.
Yeah.
The only way to end it.
I'll just put it this way: in comparison to Blazing Saddles, this one holds up a lot better, just because 100%. Of the. It just seems more realistic. It's especially with all the things that you're saying, especially with the coconuts. It all ties together. It's like, yep, yeah. I get it now. And I think maybe if I rewatch it, it might rank up higher. Now I always forget that it all makes sense. So, so going on to number 6. This is a movie that is true dear to my heart. Everyone has these problems. It's a high school drama comedy, not drama, but it has that element of a real story, which you got to respect because it's a straight up comedy, but it's based on one night, but it actually has an attempt at a story. Friendship, going on to college, the last hurrah, the party. It's so cliche, but they turn it on its end because you have this relationship with the police, and I'm talking about Superbad. You have a bunch of kids that are crazy assholes. You have Jonah Hill breaking out like crazy. Even before that one scene in what was that movie that Jonah Hill was in? The one scene in Click. He's in that one scene that you knew. How did you know that? I don't know because you don't even like Adam Sandler movies that much. And it's like, how did you know that? I'll give you credit and I'll respect that. But anyway, Jonah Hill kills it. Michael Cera, he's one of those type of guys where it's either you like him or you love him. And in this one, you can't help but to love him because he's so nerdy and like goofy and geeky, but he's so funny at the same time. And my favorite scene out of there's a few, but one of my favorite scene is the lube scene when he's just like, what, lube? You guys are dried up old ladies. Like, what are you talking about? And then he throws it and he's like, oh, now you owe me $4. It exploded. And I'm not going over there to pick it up because he just has that Michael Cera humor, and that's hilarious. And the way they feed off each other, and it's just like, oh, dude, that's funny. And then it has a story of how they're moving off to college and rooming together, and it has some moments to it. And it makes you think back to your buddies and your friends. And it's like, oh man, that's not what high school was like, but in an exaggerated sense, high school is kind of like that if you really think about it. Definitely an exaggerated sense, but yeah, it's Superbad. It's nostalgic for me. It's early to late 2000s, 2008. That's not quite late 2000, early. That era around all the Will Ferrell movies. So I mean, it's around that. But Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen directed it because it's based on their.
And they wrote it when they went high school, which is amazing.
Yeah, and obviously they probably revised and revamped it. But the fact that they were able to come up with that premise based on their pretty much real events, it's like holy shit. That no wonder it feels so real because it was written as a real character. So I mean, Superbad. I mean, it's a good one for me. And speaking of 2008, I got my number 5, 2008. I got to bang the drum. I'm just going to get right into it. Role models.
This one almost made my list.
This one, probably the funniest little kid you'll ever meet. So over the top, so crazy. How did they get away with it? How I don't know. but I can never remember his name, but the little kid, he's just so funny. And then Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott, how they're able to just, I want to rock and roll, part of every day. No, it's party every day. I got stuff to do, man. I can, from 1 to 3 in that area. It's like Paul Rudd, and then oh my, it's when he has the scene after Elizabeth Banks dumps him, and he's having that speech to the little kid. He's like, "They're gonna crush on your dreams. Fuck it," and then it just cuts. It just cuts to the kids in the crowd, like, "What the fuck?" Like, I'm already depressed.
Kicks that can.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
It explodes everywhere.
Game face, bro. Game face, bro. And then you have Louis C.K. just for a second as the cop. And it's just like he's like, what the fuck is going on? And my favorite, I say this all the time whenever anything's in my way. And then he's in the car, or no, he's in front of the tow truck's car. And then he's like, get out of the way. And he's like, oh, you want me to get out of these dances? Like, get the fuck out of the way, asshole. It's just like, I say that all the time. And then speaking without giving any spoilers away, just the you know what I'm talking about. The slight comparison that Role Models has with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It is it makes so much sense. He's like,
100%.
Yeah, and then the way that they use Kiss in that movie at the very end with the costumes and everything. It's like, oh, dude,
the
it's great.
Costumes are perfect for that scene. What they do with that.
It kind of makes me want to go into a park and play some Lair. Live action, live interactive, I always forget role playing experience. Live interaction, active role playing experience, something like that. But Lair, that's what it is, and it's great. And then Jane Lynch.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I can't think of his name, but the guy who sits next to Paul Rudd that has a crush on him.
Yeah. He's like, you got a thing for Sweeney? Me? What? He's like, your erection is showing. He's like, oh God. or just little, like, a pooping joke. They're in the woods and he's sitting there. He's like, ghost stories, and it's just so subtle, but it's like that's hilarious because it doesn't seem forced, and you have over the top characters like Sean William Scott's how he is, how the little kid's over the top, how you have the Lair concept, it's over the top, and Ken Jeong with the king character, it's so over the top, but you feel like there's
coming
people
from the burger hole.
Yeah, the burger, the epic burger hole. Bow as your daughter does. Ken Jeong is so funny in that. I think that was right before the Hangover. Hangover was 2009, so yeah, Ken Jeong he proved. So Role Models, it's one of those movies I had on repeat. It's just like, all right, I kind of want to play some Lair and do some nerdy stuff and kick some ass. So Role Models, that's at my number 5. So let's go to your River. What do you got number 4?
So my number 4 is one of my favorite Kurt Russell movies of all time. Actually, my favorite Kurt Russell of all time, Big Trouble in Little China.
Number 4, wow, that low. I'm surprised.
Yeah, this movie is probably the most quotable movie I know. Almost every single line of Kurt Russell's is a potential quote that you can say to someone. And what I love about this movie so much is that Kurt Russell stars in this movie, but he is not the main character.
Okay.
The main character is his little sidekick guy who knows all of what's going on in this world. Basically, what is happening is Kurt Russell drives an 18-wheeler that gets jacked by this gang in Chinatown who knows magic, and the guy he's with knows about what's going on. Kurt Russell has no idea. All he wants is his truck back, and he has to deal with these magic people that he has no clue. They're kicking everyone's ass, doing martial arts. They have one scene where Kurt Russell finally going to be kicking ass. He has a gun. He goes, come on, guys. He shoots the roof. Roof comes down, knocks him out for the entire last battle. He's not part of the ending battle because he gets knocked out.
Best gif of all time. Best gif of all time.
Like,
Send me that.
Yes, it's amazing. And he has one of the greatest lines where he's always saying, it's all in the reflexes. And it ends perfectly with that line. It's just, Kurt Russell hits his friend out of the way of this car coming at him. He gets up, he goes, son of a bitch must pay. He says it to nobody. He just says it, and it ends in a way. This is amazing. Kurt Russell gives the best comedic performance that I can think of in this movie, and he's just having fun. This is what I love most about it. Him and John Carpenter. John Carpenter directed it. They're just having a blast. He's quoted this is one of his favorite movies that he's ever done with John Carpenter, and it's because you can tell they're just having fun throughout this whole movie. I don't want to give anything big away. If anybody's out there that wants to watch a Kurt Russell movie, go watch this one. This is perfect.
Would you consider it a B movie, or would you think it's a fun A
I
movie?
think it's a B plus movie. It's like edging almost to an actual A movie, but it still has that quirkiness and corniness that still gives it that B performance.
Yeah, that's one that's on the shelf. That's another watch list where it's like just for you, pretty much. That's why I've never had the desire to watch it until I've met you and we've talked about it. And it's just like, all right, man, you're getting me on that Kurt Russell train. So we'll see how this goes. So
he has one more quote where he's talking to this lady when he's about to go into the depths of hell to fight these guys, and he goes, "If we're not back by dawn, call the president." And he just walks away. It makes no sense of what he says. He even says throughout one part in the movie, he's on the phone and he gets off and he goes, "I'm feeling like a little outsider here. Give me some information." Like he had no clue what's going on through this whole movie.
I don't know what's going on, but just from hearing you like it, it might be more of a buddy movie. But yeah, I feel like given that randomness, like given I like the Holy Grail, and it's random and makes no sense. I mean, I probably would dig it. So, what do you have at number 3? Holy shit!
Number 3 is by far this was hard. With this list, I decided to keep off. As you can tell, I decided to keep no main actors the same.
Same.
This was very hard for me to do when it comes to this movie because all 3 of these actually 4 outings with these guys, I truly love, and I had to pick one out of the 4, and it was a hard decision I had to make. But I chose my favorite zombie movie of all time, Shaun of the Dead. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are the new Abbott and Costello. Those guys are fucking amazing together. And they've done 4 movies, and technically they've done 5, but they did Adventures of Tintin as voices. Yeah. I will watch anything with both these guys in it. They're amazing. And Shaun of the Dead just turns the zombie film on its head, and they do it in such a memorable way where they pay homage to it. They're not making fun of it. They're paying homage to George Romero and Night of the Living Dead, and they do it so perfectly. The music works so perfectly in the movie when they're in the bar and they smash the zombie in it and it turns out to be Queen. It's just everything. The lines of Nick Frost in this movie playing the idiot character is amazing. They have one scene at the beginning when his roommate comes in, throws the record that they're playing at 3 o'clock in the morning out the window, and he goes on this rampage.
You're fucking dead.
It's bloody fucking Sunday. He goes, "Dad, can you see why I'm so fucking angry? Fuck yeah." He just wants to punch him in the face so badly.
He's like, "You're fucking dead, man." Next time I see him, he's fucking dead.
I love this movie so much is that it has a complete heart to it.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg loves his best friend so much that by the end of the movie, you see what he does to end it. And he ends so perfectly with those two. Like, you can tell these two generally love each other.
Yep.
And if some behind the scenes knowledge, when Nick Frost is doing the little gorilla scene, making like he's a gorilla, that back in the day, that used to crack Simon Pegg up all the time, that they put it in the movie because of that. That's how he would get Simon Pegg to crack up, by doing that.
That's great.
And they put it in. This is just Edgar Wright's first big budget movie. Yeah. Not his first movie, but his first big budget movie. He kills it.
Big Fingers, or what is it, Fingers?
It's 5 Fist of Fingers or Fist 5 Fingers. It's something like that. And then he did the TV show Spaced, which is also amazing, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yeah. It kills me I had to leave this off the list because in comparison to all 7 movies, I don't have as many laugh out loud moments. I have probably maybe the most consistent chuckles, like I said with the Holy Grail. I necessarily laugh out, but I have the most consistent chuckles. But like you said, it's more heart and even action and all that stuff, and that's why it's higher up on my list, my personal list, than most of these movies. But as far as comedy, I had to leave it off, and that kills me because I love this movie so much. And like you said, just the chemistry between the two, and being so early in their acting careers as a duo, that's amazing how they were just off to a great start, and it just showed instantly what Edgar Wright is capable of. Like I think out of the whole Cornetto trilogy, I think Hot Fuzz for me is the funniest. But Shaun of the Dead is my favorite.
I can see that,
Shaun of the Dead.
Because actually, my favorite out of those trilogy is World's End, but I don't consider it as much of a comedy as I do the other two.
Yeah, I think World's End's kind of a mystery drama, sci-fi. Which I've only seen World's End once, and I was shocked. I didn't know anything about it going in. If you've never seen The World's End, don't know anything about it going in because it
Yeah,
will fucking
it turns everything on its
it
head,
makes
and it does it amazing.
it just it's like you do not see it coming, and then it's just like and then Simon Pegg you plays that crazy character. And you're like, but you think he's something else, but he ends up being in hindsight what makes the most sense, but how they go about it initially, and it's just like just shows the writing of Edgar Wright and the acting of this duo, and it's just like all right. Nick Frost proved. I mean, Nick Frost proved that he can be pretty chill. Like he doesn't always have to be
That's what I
fucking
love most
dead,
about
man.
it, was that turnaround of both of
Yeah,
them.
it was awesome. So yeah, unfortunately, I had to leave Shaun of the Dead off, but all right, where you at? Number two?
So my number two. Now these two movies were interchangeable to me. It was very hard to pick which one goes first. Now this one usually would go my number one, but it's changed after watching it a few times to where I had to put it number two. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time. The Big Lebowski.
All right, here's a rule for this one. We're gonna since we're doing poker theme, we're gonna check for now. We're gonna talk about that.
Oh, okay.
It's out. We'll just talk about because I haven't started my second half of the list. So actually, with that was your number two. So I'll go and get started with my
Yeah.
number four. So my number four is a movie that, in comparison to the rest of these movies, I haven't seen as much of, like as often. But every time I see it, it's nonstop laughing. And the fact that I haven't seen it as much and it's just as quotable as probably all these movies just blows my mind. And that is the initial comedic start for Mark Wahlberg and the way that him and Will Ferrell balance off each other in The Other Guys. And the way that it starts off with Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson being the lead characters, like, oh, okay, this is gonna be interesting. The other guys, they're actually gonna be the other guys, and be side characters. Nope, without giving anything away, because if you've never seen that part, that's shocking and that's hilarious. So if you've never seen that, let me just get into it. There is a fight, a quiet fight, and it is awesome because everyone plays along, and you're like, you want to go? Yeah, I want to go. Let's go. And then they just start fighting, and they're bringing down. They go quiet, and then the captain, he's like, what is fucking going on? Like it. Michael Keaton is just hilarious, and this is gonna make no sense, and the internet's gonna go crazy. Anybody who actually watches this, but I didn't know much about Michael Keaton until recently, and there was always something about him when I saw Birdman. And when I finally saw the Batman, the original Batman, '89 Batman, I was like, man,
Yeah.
Michael Keaton seems familiar. It's because of him and the other guys. I was like, that's Bed Bath and Beyond, and a captain. He's like, I got a part-time job, and you have all the stuff with Will Ferrell and Eva Mendes. It's like, what? It makes no sense. And you got Mark Wahlberg. No, really, who is that? I know she's looking like a trashy hooker, like a hobo. Will Ferrell plays it off so perfectly, and this is a joke that I didn't get at the time. I thought it was just a cheap attempt to be, over the top. But Gators bitches better be wearing Jimmy's. Whose baby is that? And I thought that was just him being, like just over the top and, have it showing off that pimp role. But that was actually a callback to kind of like a PTSD where she announced he's pregnant and he was already in that frame of mind. He's like, so that was the first thing he came of is like, these are my pimping days. Why are you pregnant? Whose baby is that? Get his bitch better wearing Jimmy's. And it's like, that's so smart because it just makes sense of how he was slowly coming back into his old ways. And it's just like, why? How was Will Ferrell a pimp? And he's like, you were a pimp. And in the beginning, he's like, oh, no, that's not what was going on. Then later on, they're talking to the director in Tropic Thunder. What's his name? Well, he's the banker,
Yeah.
and he's just like, yeah, I was a pimp, and he finally admits it, and then listen, Little River Band. And he's like, did you just scream America when you hit the? I've never pressed the pedal. Like, there's just so much going on. It's like I said, it's so quotable for me, and I haven't seen that much, And Mark Wahlberg, he's just got that personality. He's like, so you learned ballet out of ironically. He's like, yeah, I guess, like, because he did it to make fun of the kids because they mastered it, so they can make. He's like, we wanted to show them how stupid they looked. It's just like what, like Adam McKay wrote and directed, and it's so smart and it's just silly, but it's over the top and this is a great movie to show how what's it called what's the movie called come on his Oscar movie.
The Big Short.
Yeah, The Big Short. I kept wanting to say The Big Sick.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not even gonna try
Yeah.
to say that. But The Big Short, it showed that he actually had the potential to be a good director, not just a comedic director. Because you have
Yeah.
the action set piece, you have the ironic drama moments, and then you have Derek Jeter. Like, just, come on, Derek Jeter. Like, that's hilarious. So other guys, I haven't seen it as much as the rest of these movies, but it's a funny one for me. I mean, do you got any specific moments from
I
there?
I've seen it like once or twice. I really do enjoy it. And one part that always came to mind is his Eva Mendes and having Mark Wahlberg go to the house and always seeing the wife and not believing
He's like,
that's his
no, for
wife.
real, who
That
is
always
that?
stuck with me like the
Or
whole
no,
time.
or when he's saying goodbye, he's like, "Bye, Sheila." He's like, "Terry, I don't think you heard me. Bye, Terry. Yeah, whatever. Brad, get in the house. Bye, Sheila." Like, it's just like, come on, like that's so funny. Brad might have been his character in Daddy, so I can't.
I
I
think
just
so.
I just messed it up right now. But yeah, that's you know what I meant. Brad.
But other than that,
Yeah,
I always love Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton is amazing in this movie. Like he
he's
always is. He always pulled out another great
here's a good
performance.
trivia question for you. So Will Ferrell gets his gun taken away for doing a desk pop, and then he was given a wooden gun. What was he given when he got his wooden gun taken away?
Oh,
5,
was it a
4,
squirt gun?
rape whistle.
Wait, that's what? Yes.
He's like, what am I supposed to do? You're
Damn it.
supposed to blow with this, and somebody with a real gun's gonna come and say that.
Yeah.
And then a fun fact: Dirty Mike and the Hobo Gang. That was actually a director cameo. That was Adam McKay dressed up in that hobo scene.
Oh,
So that's a
okay.
good little piece of information. All right, so going on to my number 3 is where we. I just wanted to be able to start talking about my list, but this was our check from Big Lebowski. I'll let you
Nice.
start off because it was higher up on your list. But Big Lebowski, come on, man.
Big Lebowski has one of my favorite characters of all time in any movie, the Dude, and
Fucking A, man.
second favorite, Walter Sobchak. Both of them are
Fucking A, man.
interconnected. They are they have so much chemistry together. Jeff
that
Bridges,
got to do with
this
Vietnam,
became
man.
him from now on.
Yeah.
After this movie, basically every role is a essence of the Dude in a way.
Or his character in
his
True
life.
Grit, he either has the 1-2. He either has that dark, grungy voice, or he has the fucking name, man. There's a beverage here, man.
He just in this movie, he's just so chill and so relaxed. And John Goodman is a complete opposite, and he's such an asshole to him. But it's amazing.
Market zero.
Smokey, he gets on Smokey, gets on Donnie the whole time. He
Shut the fuck
takes
up,
out
Donnie.
the car that's not turns out to not be the kids.
That's what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
Vehicle driving. The only time I've ever seen that, he jumps out of a vehicle driving, trying to shoot the gun. It blows out the tires.
It's the
and
whites.
The gun crashes.
This is the whites, man. My dirty laundry. This is the white. All right, dude, take the wheel. I'm out. Stop trying to...
And
ringer,
then when
the
the
fucking
nihilists
ringer.
go after him, he goes, no. What's mine is mine.
Throws the bowling ball at him, and then you got the dude. Take the $4, man. Just take the $4. And then the beginning scene when he has the voiceover of the cowboy, which what's his name? Oh my god, yeah, Sam Elliott. When he's doing the voiceover of the dude, which makes no fucking sense at all. Why he's narrating? It's just so that's so Coen Brothers. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so random to be in there. There's no reason for it.
He opens up the half and half, he sniffs it, and then he goes over to the checkout counter. He's got the white in his mustache, and he's writing a check for 69 cents. It just shows like, what the dude is capable of everything.
And he sees the George Bush thing on the TV, which he quotes later on.
Yeah. And then he's like, I'm a Lebowski, you're a Lebowski. What? Philip Seymour Hoffman, come on. Oh my god. This is Philip Seymour Hoffman encapsulated in one like emotion. Like that's all he is. Just like, Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's so, especially in comparison to his character in Boogie Nights and to this, it just shows off how great of an actor Philip Seymour Hoffman is, how hilarious Jeff Bridges is. Fucking, oh my god, I'm just dying right now. You have John Goodman, you have all of them. Steve Buscemi is just so John Turturro, and he's getting his own spin-off movie 20 years later. He's getting his own spin-off movie. It's like, or 21 by the time we get it. Yeah, 21 or 22 whenever we get it. But yeah, he's getting his own spin-off movie. That just shows how cult classic and how much loved. Obviously, Jeff Bridges can't do the dude, but you can still do, Jesus. And plus, it's like what? He's a pederast, and the whole doing they
8-year-olds, dude.
yeah.
8-year-olds.
He's like, what's up with this Sabbath bullshit?
Day of rest bullshit.
Day of rest bullshit.
It don't matter to Jesus.
He's like, Jesus, man, that's right. Jesus. Nobody fucks with the Jesus. he's like, you don't pull that gun trigger shit here. I'm gonna pull the trigger up your ass until it goes click. It's like, what the fuck kind of dialogue is this? But it works for everybody. And then once again, because we're not sure how this show is gonna go. We don't want to get too far into spoilers, but without spoilers, what the fuck does anything got to do with Vietnam, man? Covered in dust. Let's just leave it at that. It's like, it just encapsulates their friendship and just their characters, and it's like, what the hell is going on? Oh my god, this guy's a fake. I know a fake when I see it. Let go of me, mister. Big Lebowski is so quotable. It's great. And the only reason it's at number 3 is because number 2 has a more nostalgic factor for me. And Big Lebowski is literally a cult movie for me because I've only come to love it not recently, but in the last few years. But I've loved it so much. So it's that high up, but it's not quite number 2 or 1 just because of how much I love number 1 and the nostalgia for number 2. Which number 2? So you said you worked at a movie store.
Yeah.
I used to go to a movie store every day and just sit and watch movies and hang out. And I never realized how much of a movie fan I was until about 5 years ago when I actually realized I actually loved the concept of film and the art of movies. But I've always loved movies, and I watch movies on repeat and actually unintentionally studied them. And this was a movie that would always be on repeat because it was around my age group. Like I said, I was probably around 8, 9, 10 years old, around that age, and I'm just watching this movie on repeat. It has the over-the-top, gross-out humor that you like at that age, but there's not too much of it to where it really messes with you as an adult. And it's one of those movies where it's like, man, I thought this was like a Disney Channel style movie, and then you look back at it and you see that it was directed by an amazing director, Richard Linklater, and I'm talking about School of Rock. Jack Black.
Great choice. Yeah.
Jack Black just kills it. Dewey Finn, that is pretty much a biopic of Jack Black. And then you got the kids, and then one of my favorite scenes is when he's talking to, when he's telling the kids to let out and stick it to the man, and the Asian kid is like, "You're fat and you have body odor," and he's like, "Whoa!" And he's just like, he's like, "Oh fuck, that kind of hit deep," and it's just oh my god, it's just so funny. And then you got the songs. It's got great music. It's well directed. It's well acted. The kids all, they're kid actors. And you got little Megan from Drake and Josh, Miranda Cosgrove. You got her. It's so funny. She's that preppy, uptight, tight ass little girl where it's like, she's got everything needs to be her way, blah blah blah, but it's just like, hey, let's loosen up, let's chill out. And she finally does toward the end, and they break some rules and stuff. But it's funny because she's like, oh, I can do anything, I can sing, and then she's such a terrible singer. It's like, how about director? And then she's gonna snitch. You got all the things, and the way they go about the movie of how it's like last minute, blah blah blah. You got Joan Cusack as the principal, and she's very strict, but I don't know. It's one of those schools where you that they're going to be strict on the rules, but you don't necessarily expect them to check up on it. So the fact they get away with it, it's a little thin, but they do enough to where it's believable. So you gotta suspend your beliefs a little bit, but they do enough. Padding out the door, soundproofing the room, attempting putting the instruments away. It's enough where it's like the entertainment and the laughs are just nonstop. And like I said, you got Jack Black just being himself, and it's great. And plus the music is killer, and the nostalgia. Like, I've loved it since I was a kid, and the fact, like I said, it was directed by an amazing director. It's like, wow, a movie like this that I thought was a Disney Channel movie. It was directed by a great director, and it actually is critically acclaimed. It's like 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. I was like, holy shit, like, people respect this movie, and it makes me feel good that a movie I loved as a kid is a well-respected movie. And School of Rock. So anything you want to say about it?
It's a movie, like, this is a movie that I've always loved. It is one of my favorite Jack Black performances, and it's a movie that actually I met my best friend from high school because of it, because he used to come up to me in class, who I had never talked to this kid in my life. He just come running up to me and goes, say your name's Freddie Jones. I went, what are you talking about? Just say your name's Freddie Jones. Freddie Jones. Freddie Jones, shut up. And then he just walked away.
Shut
And he
up.
did that shit like 5 times to me. Like, it's a movie that has always stuck with me because of the essence of who they are as a kid actors, who they grew up to be, and Jack Black, his performance throughout is just amazing as a slacker guy that you always tend to see when you look at Jack Black. You think of him as a slacker, and it works perfectly.
And it has the overall theme of bringing out your full potential and not necessarily, you want your parents are strict and you got to be so uptight, but sometimes you just got to let loose. And ultimately, like for us doing this YouTube stuff, sometimes you just got to be yourself and let loose, and sometimes things can go your way if you really show your talents. Feel your talents in a way that is more comfortable and more fun. And this all this is a fun movie. It doesn't try and give you. I mean, it has a slight moment with Sarah Silverman's character, which is hilarious because she's
yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, so it goes on to that little derailment of it has the climax where it gets sad for a second in a comedy, but it's not long enough to where it's trying to be something it's not. It's realistic. And the fact that he doesn't actually go to jail, all that stuff. I think it's, like I said, it's a little thin, but it holds up enough to where the way they go about it, where it's like, whatever. I laughed all throughout the movie. It's hilarious. It's nice, has a good heart. So School of Rock, my number 2. So before we do our turns and we talk about our number 1s, which I have a feeling are going to be different, and surprisingly, we've only had one in common. And given the amount of times we talk about movies that we love, I'm really surprised. But go ahead. You got any honorable mentions that are just killer that you had to leave off the list?
These are the movies that were very interchangeable for me that I love as much as these other movies. I'll name them off quickly. Fanboys. I love Fanboys. Dan Fogler is amazing. Tropic Thunder. Ben Stiller. Holy crap. Beetlejuice. My favorite Michael Keaton performance ever. Paul. Another Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. Hot Fuzz. Wolf's End. What About Bob? One of my second favorite Bill Murray movie ever. And Army of Darkness. One of my favorite Bruce Campbell movies of all time.
Got the shirt on too, so I mean, yeah, definitely.
Yep. And I left them off for specific reasons, but those I've always loved.
I'll go ahead and talk about some of my honorable mentions just to so we can get into our number 1s. So I had to leave off The Longest Yard. That is a movie that most people don't necessarily respect, and I don't have the nostalgia for the original, so that's taken away.
That definitely helps.
I played football in high school, so I have that feel to it. It's around that time when I was in high school, so it all just kind of goes together. The area I'm from, people love Adam Sandler movies, so it's just a movie I had on repeat, and it's probably one of the more non-Adam Sandler movies still, where it's still his style, but it's not as, it has a, ironically because he's in prison, but it has an arc to it, and it's nice. Then you got Chris Rock's character, and it's hilarious. I mean, and then it's got good football scenes, which as a player who as a football player, it's something I like from a comedy. And then we got Step Brothers, because I had the other guys in there. I had to choose, and I think I like Step Brothers better as a comedy, but I also like the action and I don't know. It was really tough to choose, so I just had to go other guys just because I think the movie as a whole impacts me more. And then since I did Role Models, I had to leave off the other. Paul Rudd, I left off I Love You Man.
I was wondering if that was going to come up.
And, oh man, that killed me. The fact that I think I have a little more nostalgia for Role Models, which is weird saying nostalgia for an '08 movie, but because I was in high school, so I mean high school nostalgia. But yeah, as around that age, I watched it just a little bit more. Tropic Thunder, like you said, because spoiler alert, it might be on a list coming up in the future. Wink, wink. So I figured I don't want to be redundant, so I'll leave that potentially for there. And yeah, so those are a couple. And then, like I said, the Shaun of the Dead. That was a bummer I had to leave off. And then most recently, The Big Sick. That is a movie that I've really come to love. Being a newer movie, I couldn't quite put it on there because I don't know how long the laughs can last. But for the 3 times I've seen it, I've laughed just as hard, if not harder, each time. So I mean, it has potential. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that one off. So, all right, Mike, you're number 1.
Now, my number 1. Now I'm gonna get shit for this because when you think of this movie, you may not consider it straight off automatically as a comedy.
Okay.
But this is a movie that made me want to get into movies. in any capacity. I used to think of movies as you had to be like born into making movies. You had to be like a king or fucking queen, and you just had to get drifted into movies. I never knew the concept. I know I saw this way before then, but when I was 4 years old, I watched this movie and it clicked with me so much that I've loved it ever since. I'm talking about my fourth favorite movie of all time, the family adventure movie to end all family adventure movies, The Goonies.
Okay.
I love this movie so much,
Yeah.
and you may not. A lot of people may not consider it a comedy straight off, but this has some of the funniest scenes in the movie with Chunk and the Fratellis when they're putting his hand in the juicer, threatening to cut it, and he's just talking about everything that he's done that's bad, about the fake throw up, about everything, about the little gremlins references, Data having the funniest scenes in the movie when he runs up and he goes, "Guys, they look really, really pissed off," and the Fratellis are constantly going after him. Like this movie, oh man, it gets me every time. This is one of the few movies that actually makes me cry at the end of the movie, and it's because it ends, and I know that they're not that little anymore.
Oh,
they were such the cutest little kids on the fucking planet, and just oh man, these performances are amazing. And the kids, greatest acting I've seen of any kids in any movie. They kill it. Josh Brolin, you got Sean Astin.
Sean Astin, yep.
Yep, you got so many great performances in this movie. Fratellis, those three, Joey Pants, man, is amazing in that movie. Where those two brothers fighting off, this is why I consider it a comedy. The very first scene of the movie is Fratelli brother pretending to hang himself, get out of prison, knocks the guy on the head, and then walks out. Like it's just everything about this is just so amazing. The pirate scene at the end is incredible. It has Chunk, who has been the butt of the joke throughout the whole movie, finally being able to be the hero.
Yeah.
With Sloth. Him and Chunk together are amazing. The Baby Ruth scene, which I love Baby Ruth to this day because of this movie. Baby Ruth. Like, just everybody.
Yeah.
Every scene in this movie I love. I can watch this over and over again and never get tired of it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where, like you said, you don't think of it as a comedy straight up. You think of more as a coming of age, adventure movie. That's too with comedic elements. But yeah, if similar to like what I said, School of Rock, most people wouldn't consider it a comedy. Think of as a coming of age or just as a throwaway musical or something. But yeah, it's a straight up comedy for me all around. And if it's one of your favorite movies, sometimes the list sometimes that's just how they're gonna go. And speaking of that, that's the same thing with mine. Most people aren't gonna consider this a comedy, even though it's a straight up comedy. Most people wouldn't even consider this the best from this director, and it's the only one I've seen from this director, so I don't have nothing to gauge. But knowing how much I love this movie, but the person that I love the most in this movie is not one of his reoccurring actors, and that's Ray Fiennes, and he's just so over the top and so crazy and so nuts as the concierge, the Grand Budapest Hotel, is my number one comedy of all time. I can't. It is an hour and 40 minutes of just nonstop laughter, over the top. You got the throat slitter and just so many little things. He's like, I always go to bed with my friends, and it's just things like that where he can literally be in the middle of a straight up regular conversation and just say something grotesque or over the top, and it's just like, what? Like, Ray Fiennes, you had the balls to say that, and he's so good. And then the scene with Adrian Brody where he's like, that fucking faggot, and then he's like, I thought you said I was a faggot. Yeah, well, you're bisexual. And they're just going back and forth just because the point they're trying to swinging dicks, whose dick is proving the point, and then Boy with Apple, and then everything you have, and then you have Tony Revolori, how he's able to carry his own right next to Ray Fiennes and in this movie, and that got him roles. It's not a big role, but he was Flash in Spider-Man Homecoming. He was in Dope. So, I mean, he was able to bring in some roles coming up. So, I mean, it just showed that this movie had steam. It was nominated. I don't remember if it was nominated for Best. I think it was nominated for Best Picture.
I think it was nominated for Best Picture.
For a straight up comedy, that is ridiculous. It's beautiful set piece. Even when the skiing scene, or it's like a sledding or skiing, like however they went. Yes, I think there were skis, but it's purposely bad. It's not great visuals, but it's on purpose to where it show that it's meant to be like a I don't really know how to describe it, but you can tell that it's meant to be a set piece, and Wes Anderson just kills it. And like I said, I don't know in comparison to his other movies, but if his type of humor is like this and the rest of them, I definitely need to check them out, and I need to see some Wes Anderson movies. So Ray Fiennes, by far none one of my favorite, if not my favorite comedic performances. It's so over the top. It's so serious. Then you have little cameos like Harvey Keitel in the prison. It's like you see him as the gang leaders. Like you don't even realize that's him, and it's just how he has his fun moments. He's like, "You fucking snitch," and little things like that. It's so subtle, and it's like the movie as a whole doesn't feel like an R-rated movie, but when it gets R-rated, it's R-rated. And it's like, holy shit, this is bad. And then you got Willem Dafoe as the it's kind of like I don't know what exactly you would call him, but yeah, he's pretty much. It seems like he's an assassin. You got Jeff Goldblum, he's in there, and I know you love some Jeff Goldblum, and he's great. Did you steal my cat out of the window? Like little scenes like that, like what the fuck is going on? And oh my god, it's I laugh nonstop. And like I said, it's only an hour and 40 minutes, and it's got great little cameos. Jude Law is the writer. You got I don't know the actor personally, but the actor that plays Mustafa Zero in the beginning, who I know he's a well-known actor. I can't think of off the top of my head who he's from, but I know he's well-known from something. And then you have little cameo. Edward Norton, he's in it for a couple minutes, and he's great. You got Owen Wilson as the other concierge. Bill Murray, he's in, like all these guys, and just the little things. And they're even if it's just one line, they're hilarious, and it's funny. It's colorful. It's beautiful. It's got the great set piece. So Grand Budapest Hotel is my number one favorite comedy of all time, and that's why this is a personal list for us. So, and this is where it's gonna get fun. All right.
It's been much easier if we had a lot more commonality.
Yeah, this one's gonna be tough. I haven't seen the Goonies.
Yeah.
Who's gonna go number one? We got it. Because we want to be. This is the fun part because it's similar to like the top 10, having them argue, and it's just deciding of what the common film is for True Bromance and what our number one film is. So,
I'll give you Grand Budapest.
Yeah, you'll get.
I'll give you Grand
Budapest.
All
right, so obviously Goonies will be 2. So,
and then Big Lebowski's got to be 3 because that was my second favorite. That's your third favorite. So Big Lebowski got to stay at 3.
Yeah, if anything, hold on. Would you actually be? Would you want to do Big Lebowski at number 1?
Oh,
that's the only one we have in common. Yeah. Plus, we
both love that movie. Yeah, okay. I can say that. Yeah, let's do that.
Big Lebowski 1, Grand Budapest 2, Goonies 3.
Yep. And then what did you have for 4?
I had the other guys.
Yeah, the other guys I had Shaun of the Dead.
I'll give you Shaun of the Dead because you already know that's one of my favorites. So Shaun of the Dead. Okay, and then number 5, I have Role Models. And I
had Big Trouble. I'll give you Role Models because I love Role Models. Okay. Because I had Big Trouble in Little China. I know you have not seen that.
Yeah. I'm willing to cede on other guys if you concede on Big Trouble. Given.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so then at 6, I have Superbad.
Superbad, and I had Galaxy Quest. And I'll give you Superbad at 6.
Okay, so then I got Holy Grail. I got Holy Grail at 7.
Yeah, Holy Grail. I have Ghostbusters.
Those 2 classics. That's tough.
Yeah. Ooh.
All right. Here's a question. I respect Ghostbusters more than I like it as a comedy. How do you feel about Holy Grail?
Well, I think it's a comedy through and through.
So, but I'm saying as far as you personally, like if you had to choose between the 2 comedies, strictly comedy based.
Strictly comedy? I would go with Monty Python strictly comedy.
Okay. So you comfortable with that list?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
All right. So True Bromance, our list. It wasn't as hard as we go, or we're just too nice. So
probably a little both.
Yeah. So number 7, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Number 6, Superbad. Number 5, Role Models. Number 4. What was number 4? That was one of yours.
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yep.
Number 3, The Goonies. Number 2, The Grand Budapest Hotel. And True Bromance's favorite comedy of all time, The Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski.
Fucking A, man. No surprise there. And I at least know for me personally that if this was on my list, it would have been up there. But Tropic Thunder, if we would have that would have been another one where it's like, I don't read script reads me. It is so spoiled. And don't worry, spoiler, we're going to talk about that next week because next week is going to be our second episode, and it is going to be the top 7 movies from superhero slash supervillain actors that are not their comic book movies. And there's a couple rules there. Only one movie per actor, and the person had to appeared in at least 3 superhero or supervillain roles. So there's a few rules there, and that it's going to make that a lot of fun. It's going to make you question something like, holy shit, I forgot they're even in that movie or whatever. So that's going to be fun. So I'm Henry Confidential, and
I'm Mr. DVD.
And we are together, True Bromance, and this is Pocket 7s. Hopefully this catches on and we have some fun. See you later, guys.